Search should be personalized. You know, if I am searching for an ACL injury for my knee, I want different results if I'm a surgeon than if I'm an athlete, because they have different needs, and it's very important to distinguish those. And so who you are, more and more, should determine what the results that you get. One set of search results is not identical for all users, and we have lots of examples of what we're doing there from a geographic point of view, but also a personal point of view. We're also working in the world of clients. I mean, many people use Chrome, our browser. We tried to make a browser that was fast. We tried to push the boundaries of HTML5. We tried to make it so that everybody could build applications, because in the end, the health of the internet is really based on the utility of the internet. And being able to deliver applications on the internet so that you can do interesting things like games or business applications, all without downloading applications, but just by accessing a website, is something that we're very passionate about. We have built the fastest web browsers in the world, and we continue to push the state of the art, because it shouldn't be necessary for you to download applications. When you go to a site and there's an interactive application, you should be able to get to it right away. Obviously, we're building Chrome OS, which is our new operating system, built specifically for the web. It is the most secure operating system that's ever been done. It is an operating system that you can count on no viruses, no attacks from, all of the different, ways that people can be attacked right now. It is safe and it is secure, and we're trying to make it that way. And with that, it will change the way that people work. I've been using my Chrome OS machine for about 6 months now, and instantly my machine works. The first time I log in, it downloads all my preferences. At one moment, my machine broke. I handed it to somebody, they handed me a new one, and immediately my environment was synced up so it was perfectly the same as it was before. Machines become interchangeable. In my Android phone, when I got the new Android phone, I basically typed in my password, typed in my username, and everything came down to the device. It had my contacts, it had my preferences, it had my applications. It was as if this was the phone I'd used my entire life. And that's the change that we're seeing in the client space. Social will change the world too. There are lots of interactions between people that the social networks actually do a really good job at. Things like people search and other things. I care which restaurants my friends like. I care what movies my friends go to. I care what books my friends read. So search will have a social aspect in the future. It's very important that we, as an industry, build platforms. Madam Wu and I talked about this earlier today, and other people have talked about platforms, because to build the internet infrastructure, to build the next generation of applications in the world, you need an infrastructure that people can easily build on top of. And one of the things that I feel like the industry needs to do a fantastic job at is building that infrastructure. We need to provide the capabilities that the next generation of businesses build upon. Her example was IPv6 as one of the fundamental technologies of the internet. But it goes beyond that. HTML5 is very important. JavaScript is very important. It's very important for us to build that infrastructure. The next generation of advertising will be much more personal as well. So it's very important for me as a user, not just to get any advertising out there, but to get advertising that's engaging, get advertising that's targeted toward me, get advertising that I actually care about. And the internet allows us to change the way that people view advertising. It's not an annoyance. It's a vital piece of information that you will use and can use as part of your daily life to get to products that you want to buy. But in the end, I think the change that's going to have the most effect that you will use and can use as part of your daily life to get to products that you want to buy. But in the end, I think the change that's going to have the most effect is translation and speech. We demoed here, and we probably demo today again, speech recognition, where you can speak a language and it will actually create the text for you. Now that's a remarkable, it's a remarkable advance. But at the same time, we're also working on translation, where you can translate from one language to another language. So if I can take speech and turn it into text, and then I can turn text and then turn that into another language text, and if I can take that text and speak another language, then all of a sudden, the gaps between people around the globe disappear. All of a sudden, all content everywhere is accessible to me. All videos are now accessible to me, regardless of what language they were written in. And my belief is that this is not a dream. This is not 10 years away. But the applications of tomorrow are almost here now. You'll see little snippets of that now, but in the next 5 to 10 years, the idea of being able to communicate across geographies will be real. We'll all be using it in the same way that we use cell phones now that many of us 20 years ago never saw it. And that's just one example of how the Internet's going to change the world. So thank you very much for coming today. Thank you, Madam Wu, for joining us. Thank you for your leadership in the Internet in general, because I think the Internet is a very special place. It holds the future of our business. It holds the future of our citizens. It holds the future of our education. It holds the future of our governments. It holds the future of everything that we hold dear to us. It holds the future of relationships. And I feel like we're in a special place. We have a brand new technology. We've taken a few steps on a very long journey. And with the technology can be a huge force for good in the world. And I feel like we're at the very beginning. And China, in my opinion, will lead much of that revolution. So thank you for allowing us to be a part of that.
Thanks, Alan. 下面带给我们一个主题讲演的，是 Google 这边一个研究科学家，他的名字是 TV Raman 博士。那他今天和他的同事 Charles 给我们带来的讲演题目是属于每个人的互联网。So let's welcome TV to give us a keynote on Web for Everyone.
Hello everyone, thank you for having us here today for this talk on Web for Everyone. You just heard from Alan on the, you have my titles right now. You just heard from Alan on the scope of what we can do in terms of making information accessible to all. And during my talk, I'd like to stress the all in making information accessible to all. So go to my outline slide, Charles. So a brief outline of this talk. We'll talk about what we mean by universal access to all of the world's information. I'd like to sketch briefly my vision of what that looks like based on my own work and where I came from. We'll talk in the section after that about what technology can do today. Alan alluded to a lot of that, and we'll go into a little bit more detail. And then we'll go into a section where I'll show you how Google and the various services we build leverage this technology that has happened in order to serve all our users with the best access possible to all of the world's information. And at the end, we will look forward because I believe the best is yet to come. We've achieved a lot in the last 15 years, but we've just started scraping the surface. So that's the outline of this talk, and we will end with some demos showing you a few glimmerings of what I believe will come in the next 10 years. So flip to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about universal information access. And I'd like to give you a brief glimpse at how I got involved in this whole area. So I grew up in India, and at the time I couldn't see. I was a mathematician, and I still am a mathematician. Once you're a mathematician, you're always a mathematician. And I eventually became a computer scientist. What led me to work in this space was after I came to Cornell for graduate school in the late 80s, early 90s, the internet was just beginning to happen. And sitting at a desktop machine at Cornell, which was connected to the NSF, National Science Foundation information backbone at the time, it felt like sitting at a car with a very powerful engine to sit at a computer that was connected to the internet. There was all of this information coming online, and as somebody who couldn't see and who had always struggled to get access to the latest information, I got very excited when I realized what that meant. Flip to the next slide. So when I talk about bringing access to all of the world's information to everyone, that I really mean all in both senses. All of the world's information, and a lot of this talk will focus on what that means and how that keeps growing. What counted as all of the world's information 5 years ago seems very little compared to what we dream of today as all of the world's information. And when I say to everyone, I mean to everyone all of the time, independently of our abilities or disabilities, independent of our capabilities. So information access all the time is already beginning to happen. We are all connected to the internet all the time. Information access wherever you are, right? So when you're sitting at your desk, you have a nice big monitor. Many of us at Google Engineering have 2 big monitors, so you can see a lot. Versus when you're walking around and you have a small device, or when your eyes are busy doing other things. So the secret of universal information access to me is being able to access information whenever you want, wherever you want, and however you want. So you get to be in control. Flip to the next slide. So I'd like to step back a little bit and remind ourselves of what things were 15 or 20 years ago. Because when you work in the technology field and it's happening all around you, things change so fast that you lose a sense of perspective. You actually forget how things were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So 20 years ago, before the web, and let's say before I came to the United States as a grad student, what did the world look like? A very, very small portion of the world's information was digital at the time. And so if you look back to the time before electronic information, before the web, let's remind ourselves of some of the constraints we had. Supposing you sat down 20 years ago or 30 years ago and wrote me a letter, right? You took a piece of paper and you wrote a letter to me, and you put it in the mail and you sent it. What did it require from me, the recipient of your letter, in order to be able to get the message you were sending me? When you picked up that piece of paper and wrote on it, you automatically assumed that I, the person who received your letter, could see, which meant that if I couldn't see, I would have to go give that letter to somebody else and say, here, please read it to me. When you picked up the microphone and you spoke, when you